Okay, now we're going to add some interaction, and this is kind of the fun part. So let's just make sure we understand what we've got so far. We've got this text here that says tap school supply, and that's over here. Then we have our H stack to show all of the items in our list of available items, right? And then underneath that, we have our image of our backpack. So we have these three things, and they're all inside of our V stack. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is I want to make it so that I can tap on something, right? Click, tap, but they call it tap. And so SwiftUI makes it really easy to do. So we can tap an emoji and then add it to our supplies in the backpack. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to modify the text for supply, this right here, okay? And we're going to add what we call a modifier, an on, tap, gesture. Good. So now we create this little closure, and you're going to see where, okay, what do you want to do? Is basically what it's telling you is on tap, meaning when I tap this, what do you want to do? Okay. So what do we want it to do? Well, we want to take our supplies in our backpack, which is our other list, remember? And yes, we want to append something. And what are we going to append? Well, notice here that it wants a string, okay? And it wants a string because we said supplies in backpack is a string. So it knows that it's going to make the new element a string. So remember, this means add it to the end, right? So we're going to append or add it to the end of our supplies in our backpack. And so remember, these are all the available supplies, and we have all of these supplies. So every text then becomes one of these. So we're just going to go ahead and say supply, because whichever text I happen to tap on, right, it is going to take that and add it to the end of my list, right? So keep this in mind. The concept is we're changing an @state variable. So SwiftUI will automatically redraw anything that depends on this, because remember, this was a state variable here. So because we're adding this, right, it's going to redraw the screen. However, you'll notice I'm tapping on these and nothing is happening. It is actually happening, you just can't see it because we're not showing what those are, right? There's nothing to show here. So in our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to add those items to our quote backpack, right? So let's go down to our image, right? This is where our image is. And underneath the image, let's just start here. We're going to put another H stack because we want to horizontally put this stuff together. And we are going to do inside of our H stack another ForEach. Now this one's going to look a little bit different, and that's okay. I want it to look a little different. So let's go to our list of supplies in our backpack. However, we're going to use something called indices. Now indices, if you remember from how arrays work, they're an index or a location in the array, and it's a zero-based arrays. So the very first thing that I have are scissors, and those scissors then would be 0. So you're basically saying, hey, let's just go through all the different indexes, not the values. That's important, and we'll talk more about that again when we cover the ForEach in more detail. So we're going to use the ID, \self, and we'll cover all of this, I promise. And then we're going to do index in, right. So let's code this part. I'm going to move this over just a tad. All right, so you can kind of see it. All right, so now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have to show more text, but this time we're going to do our supplies in our backpack, but now we have to use our index. All right, we're going to use our index, and this then is going to show it. Now it's going to show it directly underneath because we put it directly underneath our image right here. So see how there's our image and then our H stack, but we'll fix that in just a minute. So watch, if I click on, let me move this over so you all can see this, right? And if I tap on something, you'll see, oh, I see a little something there. I know, we'll make it bigger. And there's a pencil, and there's this, and there's that, right? So let's do our same thing we did last time, our font system. Dot system, let's try that. Size, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than I made the other ones. So now when I click on scissors, oh, there they go. And you'll notice, and you can notice that I put a lot of books in there and 2 pencils, right? It's just kind of adding, and so it's redrawing every time because it's a state variable. So it's watching the state, right? Because it's depending on that. So there it is. Now we need to add them into our backpack right here. Okay, so that's our next step. The way we can do that is we're going to use, do you remember when you want to put one thing on top of the other, we're going to use something called a Z-stack. So we're going to take all of this right here, including my H stack, right? And let's see if I have this here. Yep, I do. See where I just highlighted that and I said embed? And it puts it into some sort of a container. It doesn't know what kind of container I want, but it's a cool little hack. And it says, okay, let's embed all of this stuff. Although I don't know if I got all of it. We'll have to look. I'm going to guess it did not. No, it did not, because it stopped it here. All right. Let's put your curly brace here. There we go. So now the whole thing is a container. And what kind of container do I want? I want a Z-stack. Now, it's not going to be pretty. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Right? It's not going to be pretty. Watch this. See where it's putting things? I kind of want to change it, you know. So we're going to do a little bit of an offset, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But did you see what I did? I took this thing and I took this one and I just right-clicked and said embed in. But be careful. See how these curly braces are getting to you? Well, they're getting to me. So this one's my Z-stack, right? Okay. So because this ends my Z-stack, I need to be able to do an offset. Now, where do I want to do the offset to? I want to actually put my offset to my H stack, right? Because that's what I want to offset. So right now, if we see where it's going, it's kind of like right in the center, right? So I want to offset that just a tad. So I'm going to use what we call an offset. And you can choose, and you can play with this, but there's x-axis, y-axis. I'm going to choose the y. And now because I need it to go, well, let me just show you where this goes, just so you can kind of see, right? It's not where we're going to place it, but I want you to see. Notice it's not center, it goes down from center, right? So I want it to go a minus. Now, I don't know if I like where this is going to go, but let's see. Well, that's not horrible, but I think I'm going to go a little lower. So maybe not quite minus 100, but minus 80. Let's try that. Right? We can always play with these, but there it is, and there. So we get the feeling that things are in the backpack, if you will. Okay. So we're using the Z-stack because we want layers. The backpack is on the bottom, and emojis are then on the top, right? And we're going to loop through those indices instead of the array. Instead of the items in the array, we're actually just going through. Like I said, we'll talk more about that. And okay, we can move forward from here.